everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be the continuation of my end of year book series where I talk about the best, the worst, most surprising today, and the most disappointing books that I've read throughout the year. So I will link the other videos down below as they come out. But yes, I'm posting every 2 days. I'm hoping the lighting is okay because it is quite dark, but schedule. So, let's talk about the most surprising books that I've read throughout 2020. Not gonna lie, this year was kind of rough. I was in a slump earlier, and then a lot of the books ended up being kind of meh. Not that many in the extremes of loving them or hating them, but still a few books that took me by surprise that I ended up enjoying more than I thought I would. So, let's start with The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. When I started watching Booktube videos, this was everywhere as one of the most popular adult fantasy book that everyone needed to read. And there's just so much hype that I used to be super excited, and then I kept hearing less good things, so my hype kind of went down. So my expectations weren't super high. I kind of got a bit nervous, not gonna lie. The fact that a lot of really popular books I tend to have opinions, or the fact that the third book, what will happen, we don't know, it kind of made me a little less interested. But I ended up actually enjoying it more than I thought I would. I am someone that absolutely adored the trope of magical school. Give me recommendations because I want to do a video actually on that topic. So yes, I went into it with expectations. I had heard that the main character was a little full of himself, but personally, at least based on just the first book, I feel like it's kind of the author, the main character, as he's narrating his past, he's kind of judging himself, like his past self. So I don't have an issue with it at the moment. I do have to say the last quarter, it goes on a tangent, spoiler free, which I didn't really care that much about, and I don't care for the romance at all. I'm not a big romance person to begin with, specifically for this one, and I have been warned about Booktube, but that's for a different video. I liked it a lot. The magic system is super interesting. I'm intrigued about the world. I'm intrigued because each book is supposed to be the narrator, the main character narrating his story, each day being a different book. And I have heard rumors and blah, 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 but still, at this point, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, which is, why it's in here. Surprised me a little bit because at one point I feel like some books are so hyped that when you get around to reading them, there's no way they're going to live up to that hype. But yes, enjoyed the world, enjoyed the magic, enjoy even the character. He's definitely, full of himself, but I think he's meant to be. So I'm okay with it so far. Enjoyed it. Do recommend it. I'm happy I read it. I feel like too many really popular ones, I end up reading them and being like, meh, it's okay, Then I wanted to talk about The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I have read and loved The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I read it, is it 2-3 years ago at this point, and it made it to my best of that year. Completely unknown author. It was a debut novel, and absolutely loved it. I've been raving about it ever since. So to be honest, it's in this video because I was nervous. I feel like often, you'll enjoy one book by the author, especially if it's his first book, and then afterwards, so I went into it once again with pretty low expectation. I do think there are some similarities between this book and his other one. The fact that there's a ton of characters, just throwing it out there, I don't think I would recommend it as an audiobook, this one nor the other one. It's kind of complicated. There are, both cases, they're also kind of a mystery with possibly sci-fi twist. In this specific case, you're following a duo of detective, although mostly one of them, as they are going on a journey on a boat, and people are starting to be murdered, and possibly the devil is doing it. And I really enjoyed the journey. The characters, it's fun to get more and more background as the story advances, and I think, again, I enjoyed the journey more than the ending. Same thing with his other book, so I'm seeing the pattern here. It wasn't a bad ending, it just was not what I expected, and not super satisfying in my opinion, but I do think that if you enjoyed, again, The 7.5 Deaths, you would enjoy The Devil and the Dark Water. So overall, enjoyed it more than I expected. Again, I went into it with pretty low expectations because I really thought I was going to be disappointed, just being honest, but no, I wasn't. So if you're someone that enjoys trying to figure out who did it, kind of murder mystery, I would recommend this one because I did think it was pretty satisfying to try and figure it out. I do want to mention, I mention it every time, one of the main characters called Arend. I think that's the pronunciation, the Dutch pronunciation. So if you are going to read a physical book, you might like me struggle. English is not my first language, so every time I would read it as art. But that's a small detail, just, you know, throwing it out there. You might feel a little tortured too. The next book that took me by surprise is The House in the Cerulean Sea, which I went into it with, again, pretty low expectations. We're kind of seeing a pattern here. Maybe I should try to do that more often, but it's kind of hard, right? But I kept seeing everyone giving it 5 stars, and I had been told that it was a little bit children's book feel, which not really my jam, but I still went into it because everyone kept saying that it was very wholesome, and quite frankly, with 2020, I could use all the wholesomeness I can get. You're following this main character was kind of like, he follows a rule very strictly, a little grumpy, a little boring of a life, and he works as an inspector in like orphanages for magical children, and he is sent on this specific mission to go to this specific house for a whole month, and his bosses basically expect him to say negative stuff about it and kind of spy for them. And children's book-ish, so you found these kids, you know, you get the feels. I did laugh a couple times, which I didn't really expect. I didn't really care for the romance. It's not a spoiler, really. I am not a big romance person, once again, so not really surprising there. I just felt like it came out a little bit out of nowhere. The kids were attaching. Again, it's really not my jam, but it kind of worked. I think it's just a case of like being now in 2020 and it just worked right now, and probably would never in other circumstances. So depending on your taste, if you're someone that enjoys these type of books more than me, you will most likely really enjoy it. So yes, overall took me by surprise. Not an all-time favorite, but it just was what I needed right now. Another book that completely took me by surprise because Sorcery of Torns. I feel like I've read this last year. I swear 2020 has been long. This is a YA fantasy, which I have been very unlucky with lately. I feel like so many of them, there's so much hype, and then when I read them and I'm like, no, it has everything I don't like. But in this one, you follow this main character who works in a magical library. Yes, please, give me all of that. And I enjoyed it so much more than expected. The main character is more likable than I thought. The intrigue was more interesting than I thought. The last bit I didn't love because a little romancy for me. I am sounding like a hater here. So yes, if you're someone that enjoys magical books, library, main character living, basically growing up in a library and trying to become a librarian, I do think you would enjoy this, especially if you already enjoy YA fantasy books. So yes, strong beginning, a little bit of a weak finish in my opinion. The next one might be the most controversial one in this video, Before I Go to Sleep, which, not gonna lie, I have been very unlucky with mystery thrillers. Like, I love them, but I feel like I tend to dislike more often than not the ones I read, probably because I'm trying to keep up with the new releases, so I think it's more hit and miss usually. And even when I recommend them, I always say like, it will really, really depend, and this one is no different. Like, just because I enjoyed it doesn't mean you will. Idea of the book is really good. You're following this main character who had an accident years ago, and every day she wakes up not remembering her past. And it does sound a little bit like the 100 First Date, 50 First Dates, but not wholesome. In this one, she is trying to get better and is getting help from a doctor, but she's hiding it from her husband. And she starts trying to write down her memory of every day so she can try and, you know, piece things together. And she starts not knowing who she can trust. Can she believe her psychiatrist? I think is... or doctor, whatever, doesn't matter, or her husband. Someone is lying to her, maybe both, maybe none, and she just has no idea because she can't even trust herself, and things happen. I had seen the movie, which I remember enjoying, and then was sad when I realized it was a book, so I waited a few years until I forgot about it, which happily I did so, and it took me by surprise. The ending, could not remember it whatsoever. And I really did enjoy it. Again, it's going to be a hit or miss. I have seen the movie by him. Is it The Blindness? Which I know it's also a book, which I'm trying to wait until I forget to read that one too. So I'm seeing the pattern. The author is a bit weird with like bodies and anything kind of sex related. So just throwing it out there if it weirds you out. There were a few scenes that was like, that was not necessary. But otherwise, yeah, I actually did enjoy it. Would recommend it. It's worth giving it a shot. And I will, again, once I forget it more, read The Blindness by the author. So yes. Last but not least, I wasn't sure I was going to include this book in here, but you know what? We're here. Might as well. Gideon the Knight, or as I used to say, Gideon. This book, I ended up reading it just because it was part of the nominees in the Goodreads Choice Award, and people were saying it was kind of weird, and I just decided to give it a shot, and it is weird. You're following this main character who is kind of forced to be part of this trial to help this other woman part of the same like house. She's trying to become an immortal, all-powerful servant of the resurrection. That's why I can't remember that. And the trials are really like weird, kind of magic related, necromancer stuff. It was actually kind of good, very confusing, but I overall enjoyed it. Like, people are being murdered or trying to, you know, get that spot, and she's just doing her best trying to survive and help. The thing is, the ending was just so strange that I have no idea how book 2 is going to be. Like, I know it's not really part of this video, but like, I will continue, but that ending was just, I don't understand how the series can continue. So yes, just wanted to give it a little shout out because I surprisingly enjoyed it more than I expected, but I definitely don't think this is going to be for everyone. So these are the most surprising books that I've read in 2020. Please let me know in the comment section the ones you have read, or if you have any opinions on the ones that I mentioned in this video, please let me know. Once again, the end of the book series is not done, so subscribe, thumbs up. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Bye.